Hey, Hustle fam. Welcome back to another episode of Side Hustle Saturday, where we shine a light on the visionaries, the dreamers, and those doers that are turning side hustles into full on empires. Now, today, we're flipping the script a little bit and we're bringing back an episode that I love to talk about. Where are they now? Now, if you've been rocking with me since the very beginning, August of 2020, you'll remember an episode that I did with the one and only Jovanna Robinson. Now, she's the creative force behind that leather brand called Tone Bekka. Now, 4 years later, we're catching up to see how this powerhouse entrepreneur has evolved her brand, weathered the storms of the fashion industry, and continue to turn heads with her amazing handcrafted leather travel goods. Now, from business pivots to design inspiration and building community, Jovanna keeps it real about the wins and what's next. So grab your coffee, get your notepad, and maybe even that dream that you've been putting off, because today's conversation is a reminder that consistency, creativity, and staying true to your vision can take you further than you ever imagined. So let's get into it. This is Side Hustle Saturday. So, looking back, what were some significant changes since you've been on my show since 2022? Because when I met you, you had some amazing bags, okay? And then I remember you moved into a space and you were in that space for a minute. And now you said you moved back home. So, what were some things that you were doing with your business? Like, how did you pivot? I know there are ebbs and flows. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so since 2020, actually, I was in the space when I talked to you. I was in the space in 22
Mm-hmm.
because I think and I say we because my husband and I, he's a photographer, so we shared the space um,
Mm-hmm.
in 2020. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's nice. It was nice to have a place to go to. But since then, since 2022 when we last spoke, there's been a lot of changes with Tony Becca as far as trying to find my footing and find a lot of times in business you start one way and then you feel like, oh, this isn't working, and you try to pivot, and you feel like this isn't working and you try to pivot
Mhm, mhm.
different things. And so I know back then I was actually running the business where I would do a lot of events on the weekends. I would do markets and vendors and
Yeah. I remember that. I remember you were posting about it. "I'm gonna be here," and I
yeah,
remember that.
it's
Mhm.
like I was somewhere every single weekend.
Yeah.
And it was burning me out. I was like, okay,
Mhm.
in your 40s, all this setting up and tearing down and
Yeah.
it's all this stuff. And then even though I had a space, and really, when I look back on things, I wish I would have monetized my space a little better than what I
Yeah.
wish I would have had more like shopping events inside the space,
Mm.
as opposed to feeling like I had to go out every single time.
Right.
So in 2022, I kind of made the decision where I was like, this has to be it. I looked at my numbers, because numbers don't lie.
Honey, they don't. And if you don't know your numbers for your business, that's a good way to be out of business.
Exactly. And it takes time to you gotta watch the numbers too. You can't just look,
Right.
you gotta see as things are working, like let it work for a couple months before you switch things up. But
Mhm.
what I realized in 2022, I realized that I was making more money online than I was going.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, something has to give, because by me going out every single weekend, I'm doing that during the week. I'm trying to make bags to have to sell on the weekend, because I would sell out. I was killing it. And
Yeah.
I would get orders online and have to fulfill those orders, or I would get orders from the like when I would be out and they're like, "Oh, well, I like that bag and it's burgundy. I like it, but can I get it in like all black?" And then I just
Yeah.
black one, and so it's like I need another black one, so I gotta make
Mhm.
that. And so it was like I was always feeling like I was being burned at both ends, and I
Mhm.
couldn't find my footing.
Yeah.
And people, when they place the order, they want their bag now. They don't want
Today.
it. And so there's that aspect. So I said, when I looked at numbers, I said, okay, I'm doing more online. Why don't I focus on one? I can't.
Mhm.
I'm only one person.
Right.
So I decided to just focus online and build online. And that was going pretty good. But then at the same time, the whole making the bags, they weren't always pre-made. Like I would make bags
Mm.
for collection, I would see how they would do, and
Yeah.
I would allow people to kind of dictate, well, I like that bag, but can I get it in this color?
Right.
Can, you
Yeah.
know. And so then I found myself always having to search for the leather and do all of these different things.
Mhm.
It's like 4 weeks going by, 6 weeks, and my policy was 6 to 8 weeks to make your bag from the time that you placed your order, and so it just wasn't working. And so I
Yeah.
went to the drawing board and I said, "Okay, what do I need to do and how do I need to make my business work for me? Okay? What is gonna be best?" And I'm like, "I know unless you're Hermes, people don't wanna wait. They don't wanna wait."
I'll wait 10 years for my bag, Tony. Sure.
You said
Rebecca,
what?
I'll wait 10 years for my bag, Giovanna. That's okay. I'll wait.
That's the thing, like, it's so funny because I watched the documentary on Hermes and all the things, and it's so funny how, like, you could be on a waiting list for a year before you actually they say, "Oh, we're gonna make your bag." But
Right.
unless you got that Hermes name, like, people were like, "No, I want my bag now, sis. I want
Right. Like yesterday.
it yesterday." Right? So so I said, okay, what I wanted to do was I wanted to pivot, make the collection, then sell it. It's
Yeah.
so satisfying to have a bag made and on the shelf, and then somebody buy and you get that ding, and it's like all I got to do is package it up, put it in a box.
Mhm.
The post office, I can walk to it. It
Right. Show us one of the bags because your bags, y'all, when I tell you her bags, they are on the same quality as, and I'm not lying, a Coach, a
thank
Gucci, a Louis, and she makes each of these bags by hand. This
you.
ain't no, glue stick, no, and it's
Real leather.
real leather. And she's been, how many years have you been making bags?
Suede leather on the inside, leather on the outside, gold hardware. I'm
Mhm,
very particular about what I use for my bags, like the materials and everything that I use for them.
mhm,
All my bags are genuine leather because
mhm.
leather lasts. Leather lasts.
It does, and all for y'all that wants a bag, we're gonna put all her information so you guys can get a bag. They are really good. I still got to get my bag. Okay, they are great quality leather pieces. I mean, keepsake pieces that you would carry from on and for a long time. I want to know, you're so creative. Like, how do you get inspired? Because you be having some bad bleep handbags, girl. I mean, your handbags are just on point. Just what is the creativity process for you?
Thank you. And to answer your one question, I've actually been in business. I started in 2012. I've pivoted, but I started
Hmm.
in 2012. I started making bags in 2012, and then 2015, 2016, I started focusing on travel bags. So I actually
Yeah.
backpacks, and I was looking to see if I had any of my backpacks around me. But I started making backpacks and different things like that, and weekenders and stuff. But as far as my process, really, I'm a bag lover. I've
Hmm.
bags since I was a little girl. I've had to carry. I always had to have a bag. With
Hmm.
I didn't
Right.
go bag. And I just as a lover of bags, I could be inspired by anything.
Hmm.
One time a brown paper bag, and I'm looking because I'm in my studio to see if I even have that bag anywhere. The a brown paper bag, I was inspired by that. And just like you think about the folds,
Hmm.
everything in every fold, like the triangle that's on the side of it, I will put I put a different piece of leather, different color leather on every part of it, and gave, and then you know how you fold at the middle part, not the middle part, but three-fourths down. You
Uh-huh.
bag that was like a stitch line. It just depends. Like this bag actually is called the Rebecca. So my brand, Tony Bekka, is my husband's middle name Anthony, and my sister who passed away, her name Rebecca. I shortened both of them and put them together. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where the name Tony Bekka comes from. But this bag is called the Rebecca, but it's, even though people would think it's named after my sister, it's named after my daughter. My daughter is named
Oh.
Rhea Rebecca, which my sister's name was Rebecca Sharia.
Okay.
This has my sister's name reversed. And so one day my daughter had a bag and she was carrying, I said, somebody had gifted her this bag. And she was, she was a young little, I want to say middle schooler, carrying this bag. And she just was always carrying this bag. And she carried that bag till she shouldn't have been carrying it. And I said, girl, why are you carrying this bag? I said, I know you. I said, I know you got it as a gift and everything, but your mom is a whole bag maker. Why does that bag look like that? You need another bag. She was like, Mom,
Yeah.
what you make me? I said, it ain't what I'm gonna make you. I said, you gonna help me figure it out because you're very picky.
Right.
Or, you're very particular. I said, so let's collaborate and figure out what you want. This is the bag she designed.
Oh, wow. Your daughter designed that bag?
Yep. She told me, she said, I want a bag that has a flap. I want it to be black. I want the trim. She wanted the trim of it to be white. So on the original bag, the bag is black, but the trim is white. Yeah, the
Oh.
piping on the side of it is white. And
Mm-hmm.
she said she wanted it to turn, to lock, and all of that. And I said, okay. And I made it. And I made it for her. So I said, of course, since I made this bag for you, we're going to put it up and, show people. And people have loved this bag. This has been one of my best sellers.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, it really just depends. Like, I can just really, most of my inspiration will come from going into the leather store. I'll go into the leather store, I'll see some leather that I love, and I'm like, that would make a great backpack, or that would make a great, book bag. There was one, I was scrolling on Instagram one day, and I was infatuated with moving to LA at this time.
Yeah.
Was scrolling through Instagram and I came across some post on LA, and I went in a deep dive. You know how like there's a tag in that post, and so you go to that
You went
tag.
into that black hole swirl.
I did that and I landed on this like car show that
Mm-hmm.
was out in LA. And this car was this blue, it was this blue car, and then the interior of it was a darker blue, but then it had touches of brown, like tan in the car.
Oh.
That's a backpack. Yeah. That car inspired me to make a backpack. And so the backpack that I made, and I wish I would have brought it down here. My son, I made one for my son because he loved it. So I called it the Amalfi. But the backpack was light bright, light blue, and on
Mm-hmm.
the sides it was like a cobalt blue, but then
Mm-hmm.
the straps and they had touches of the tan. Bag is dope.
Oh,
It's
is it
nice.
up on the site now?
It is. Is it on the
Okay.
site?
Okay.
Let me see if it's on the site because it might not be on the site because
Okay.
I don't think I have any more of the material to make another one.
Oh, that
So,
sounds really nice.
matter of fact, I'm going to ask my husband to bring it to me so I can
Okay.
son.
I want to see the bag.
Yeah,
Now,
my son has the miniature version of the bag.
uh-huh.
The bag is called the ruck. And the ruck, I've made it in all black. I've actually made it in burgundy. It's called the Stanley.
Hmm.
I've made it in croc. And so the design of the bag actually came from my husband. Like I said, he's a photographer.
Yeah.
To the backpack to carry his equipment in, his, lenses and everything when he would go out and shoot. And so I made the bag for him years ago. It was the very first backpack I made, but I made it in like a canvas canvas. And then it was accented in leather. And so that bag just has just resurfaced and resurfaced in different ways, but it's also one of my best sellers. Uh,
Uh-huh.
but it, like I said, inspiration can come from me. I can go to a museum and I can look at, one time I got inspired by a bird that was in a museum.
Oh, wow.
The car. It just, certain things would just speak to me and I'm like, that's a bag.
Yeah. And Imma get the bag.
Yes, yes.
This segment of Hustle Talks is brought to you by Studio 951. Need a game changing marketing strategy? At Studio 951, we help businesses stand out with expert branding, social media management, content creation, web design, and video editing. From crafting eye catching visuals to driving engagement, we bring your brand to life online and beyond. Ready to grow? Let's build something amazing together. Visit studio-951.com today. Now, you're super creative. If y'all go to her site, she is her own, she models her own stuff, which is super cool. I love that you are the face of your brand, and you'll see a bag, you'll see her up there just looking just, all right, I see you. I see you, Jovanna. Tell me, how important is it for people that have their own business to be the face of their brand? Because I think it's really important that people have a way to connect with you. And that's how I connect with you because I just see you out there.
Yeah. We live in a time now where people, we don't live, when we were younger, I would say,
Hmm.
it didn't matter who was, like, people didn't always know who was behind the brand. They
Right.
just liked it. But now I think with social media, people are so connected to brands because we don't just buy anymore for the sake of buying. We buy with purpose now. And so I feel like with social media and everything, people want to know, they want to feel like they have a connection with the brand that they're supporting. And so it's important to me because I'm a Black woman. That's two different minorities that I'm fulfilling right there. And so a lot of people will come to me and they'll be like, I'm supporting you, I'm buying from you because you are a Black woman. And like, I appreciate that because, let's just be honest, we have to be strategic in where we're putting our dollars nowadays. And
Right.
so by me showing, letting people know, like, hey, I'm the woman that's making these bags, I'm the woman that's behind this brand, I'm the woman that's doing it. It's a connection. Like, people like to support that. They like to support someone that is like, oh, you look like me. I've had moms who their daughters have been like, oh my gosh, I'm so, I'm inspired by you because I want to be a designer too. And so it makes a difference in that, aspect of, I'm showing other little brown girls like me that you can do this. Leather work is not a heavy women based business. Leather work isn't.
Mhm.
It definitely isn't heavy with Black women. But since I've been in the space, I've come across a lot more Black women, and I'll look at them and I'm like, "Oh, sis, you dope. Let's be friends."
Yeah.
I see so many Black women that make leather bags, um, just because they're Black, and I'm like, "You're dope. You are dope," because that easy industry to get into. There is a one friend of mine that's out in California who has a Black brand, and she would teach. She was a part of a national company that she would teach classes, and like, she would get some pushback and she would get some flack because, a lot of people are like, what does she know? She's a woman in this space. What do you know about leather work? Uh,
Yeah.
but it's just it's important. I started being the face of the brand because it's like I ain't had no money for models.
Right. Well, you make a good face for the brand because
Yes,
you
like
you are out there. You represent Tone Becca, okay?
got just like my husband's a photographer. God blessed me with that. Okay, and so like him and I, we can go anytime, and we've had photo shoots at midnight. We've got up early in the morning and done photo shoots. I'll pull on him like, "Babe, what you doing tomorrow?" He look at me like, got this idea. Let's go shoot. But I didn't have the money to, I'm self-funded. So I didn't have the money to sit there and be like, oh, I can pay somebody. And
Yeah.
it only goes so far. Like, can you model for me and I'm gonna give you a bag? Can you? Mm-mm. But
How important do you think it is? You said your husband's a photographer and you guys work together. How important is that to you? How do you two collaborate and bounce ideas off of each other?
um, how's it's important to me because it saves money in my pocket. I don't have to pay for no photographer.
Check.
Be expensive, right? Which could be expensive. No, I think because there's so many married couples, and I'm actually in the process of writing a book on this because I remember years ago when I first started getting into being when I was the beginning stages of entrepreneurship. I was
Mhm.
reading books, and there is this one particular book that I read, and they were talking about how most of the women who were successful in there, they were like, my success came after I got divorced. My success came, when I left my husband and, all these different things. And I was just kind of like, that's sad. I don't want to have to make a choice. I love my husband. We've been together for almost 21 years. And it's like,
All right now, Black love.
yes, I don't want to place on love or business.
Mm.
Why can't I have both? Why can't I have both? And so while it can be kind of stressful sometimes when it's like, oh, you know, for me, he can feel like, or to him, it feels like sometimes like all I talk about is business, business, business.
Yeah.
But being able to do business together with him, I feel like has drawn us closer together. It gives us something to do together, which is really nice. I know well, I'm sorry, we've been together for 24 years. We've been married for almost 21.
Oh, all right
but but even when I would do markets and stuff, when I would go out, he's always been by my side. He's always been right there helping me. And I tease him and say he's my number one best seller,
now.
salesperson in the
Mhm.
business. But it means a lot because a lot of people don't have the support in
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
And because he's an entrepreneur and I'm an entrepreneur, and because what
Mhm.
we do complements each other. Like I'm a lot because of what I do and him taking pictures of me, people are able to see how dope he is as a photographer. And
Right.
with it, showing my bags and at the best way possible because he is a photographer. But it allows us to be able to use our creativity together and to complement each other and work together. And it's
Mhm.
not always pretty. I know sometimes I might get on his nerves, or I'm not posing right, or whatever the case may be, and I should have it down pat by now.
Right, right.
But it's nice making like build creating that chemistry together of
Yeah.
create.
Yeah. How I love fashion too. I went to school for fashion merchandising and I still if you look at my closet today, I'm a clothes horse. But how 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 difficult is it for minorities to break into this fashion space? I know there are avenues that are out there for us. I think there's Harlem Fashion Week or Harlem Week where they showcase Black designers. Like, how difficult has it been for you to break into this space?
Um, it's been difficult in the sense of I think the main thing that we work against as minorities is the fact that we just don't have the funding.
Oh,
It's just we just don't have the funding. We don't have
mhm,
the funding that others have when it comes to business. A lot of um, you know, they understand what it means to train up their children to own businesses and different things like that. And we're getting it as Black people, we're getting it now. But I think that's the main thing. Like money rules the world. It just does.
yeah,
without having the money that you need, you're limited on how far you can go because black people are dope. Black people are
That's a t-shirt.
dope. We are dope. We're creatives by nature. You know, we're trailblazers. We're all of the things. We're just missing the capital in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
To be able to, if I would have had, just think how far I would be if I would have had my parents who were like rich and just passed down their riches to me and had like, a nice nest egg for me when I turned 18 and be like, hey, go build a business.
Right. And the connections.
And the
I think
that
that is like that's the other half of that equation is the doors that some of the people they open for people.
Mhm, mhm,
And
'cause even
and it's true.
yeah, because even if you don't have the finances, but you might know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that can
Mhm.
help you get your foot in the door, and then you have the nepotism where it's like, "Oh, okay, well, this is my child, and I'm gonna make sure, they go where they're supposed to go and they have the success that they need to have because you always going to look out for your own. And so that's the major issue. Is just like if I would have had money at the beginning, like a nice nest egg at the beginning where it's like, here you go, started my business manufacturing right out the door. Right out,
Right.
you know.
How do you feel like you have evolved from 2020 to like now as an entrepreneur?
Um I've evolved in ways where I understand the business aspect more.
Mhm.
It's more than just making a bag and putting a couple posts on social media. I evolved because and I've really been kind of in 2024 was a really hard year. I brought the bag, by the way.
Oh, girl, I like that.
And so it's the blue
That's nice.
inside and then the straps on the back.
Oh, Jovanna, I love that.
Miniature version. This is my son's.
That's the small version?
Yeah.
Wait,
This
I
was
hate to see the big version.
I sold out all of the big version is just a little taller. It's just probably like that much taller. And yeah, I think it's just taller. I
That
think
is a gorgeous bag. I
yeah,
love that.
the car. The car was the outside of the car was this blue. The
Mhm.
interior was this blue. And like the steering wheel, the shit this stick shift, all that was the tan.
Yeah,
So yeah. So I was like, that's gonna be a bag.
beautiful. And is it online now?
That one sold that was last year when I sold that, so I
You
think
need
that
to bring that back.
I know. I know.
If you're ready to take your business to the next level, our sponsor, Complete One LLC, has got you covered. Need a game-changing website, eye-catching logo, sleek business cards, or even expert video editing? They do it all, because your success is their priority. At Complete One LLC, they don't just create, they elevate, helping you think strategically and bring your vision to life. Your brand deserves the best, and they're here to make it happen. So why wait? Let's build something great together. Visit Complete One LLC today, where your vision gets completed.
But that was the thing, like 2024 was a tough year for me, right? And
Right.
it was tough because I was trying to transition in a sense of, and this was what solidified was like, girl, just go get a 9 to 5. Just go get a 9 to 5. Because it
Mhm.
was like all my money was going back into living because people weren't buying like they were. Even if
Right.
I go to the markets and stuff, there are times when I can go to a market and I would make thousands of dollars. And then I would go to those same markets and it's like, this all I made?
Hello, crickets. Yeah.
What's going on? What's going, people were like not spending as much and different things. I think 2020, 2021 and all that kind of spoiled us from people spending. And so I've really grown in a sense of now I understand all that it needs to go on behind the scenes to make things work. to make sure your numbers are there, to make sure that, you know, I need to have X amount of people coming to my website to
Mhm.
make this amount of money. If my goal is to make $10,000 a month, I need to make sure that I have that inventory and be strategic about what the inventory is, knowing that what my customer base wants, understanding them, understanding the colors of the season and different things like that. What sells when, what seasons are popular for you to make a backpack or you to make a tote bag, you know, what time of year are people. I've grown so much in that aspect, and that it's just like since 2024, I've been kind of behind the scenes learning so much more so that when I come out with the manufacturing, I'm not just going to have a whole bunch of boxes sitting in my house. Like, how am I going to sell these? I'm going
Right.
to sell them because I've figured out the strategy on what it takes to sell. And to realize that it's all a numbers game. It's really all a numbers game. That's what business is. It's a numbers game.
Mhm. What advice would you give somebody that's watching this, that's gonna see this podcast, and they're like, "You know what? I got the fashion itch. I wanna get into the industry. I don't know how." What advice would you give somebody that wanted to break into this industry?
You know, I think that it's really good to find a mentor. Find a mentor, someone that you can be an understudy under, that you can literally is good at business. If you want to make your clothes or if you want to manufacture your clothes, whatever it is, find somebody in the industry who does it and learn from them. Glean everything you can possibly glean from them because learning is so important, and always being willing to learn is like you will never stop. But you gotta know, you gotta know what you gotta know to get to where you're trying to go. You know, it's not enough. Like, I have a degree in fashion design. My degree in fashion design wasn't enough to create for me to be a successful business owner. You know, yeah, it taught me how to make the clothes and, you know, how to refine my sketches and my drawings. And, you know, if I want to go and I want to sketch and create for a person, or if I want to be able to make the clothes and understand garments and how they flow and different things like that. But as a business owner, that's a whole nother lane. And
Yeah.
get under other business owners who are successful, who have done it, who have been there, who can tell me, you know, how to make it and how to plan for the low seasons and how to, you know, not just take advantage of the high seasons and not just live like a hog when it's high. No, you got to save up because you're gonna have your low seasons. You know, different things like that. There's so much stuff that we just don't think of getting into it. But if you get up under a mentor, someone who isn't afraid to teach you, because there's some people who is like, no, I'm successful and I did it on my own, I'm not about to help nobody else, you got to figure it out like I did.
Gatekeeping, right.
Exactly, but find somebody, because the truth of the matter is there's enough for all of us to eat.
Girl, I say that all the time. There's room at the table for everybody, so let's just all eat. Here's the salt and pepper.
Yeah.
You know?
Truth of the matter, consumers like you might love a brand, and but most people don't only buy from one brand.
Right.
They don't. So like I said, I have friends who are leather bag makers, and it's like I've had some of their customers buy from me and my customers buy from them. I don't feel some no sort of way about it because they made a dope bag. She made a really dope clutch. You better go get that clutch. That's your style, girl. Meanwhile, I got your travel bags over here.
Right, exactly. We need to be able to support each other, and especially now, we need to be coming together as a community, lockstep, 1, 2 step, however you want to step, but we all need to come together. And it's not just about you, it's not just about me, it's about all of us. And we need to support each other. I mean, it's so, so, so important now. I want to know from your journey, what was the thing that you were most proud of from then to now?
Ooh, what I'm most proud of. You know, I'm most proud of honestly sticking to it. I've been in business for a long time and I feel like some people would give up. But like I said, success is a journey. because there's so many different things that when I look back over it, there's so many different things that I've accomplished and I've done along the way. I've been in Harper's, I've been in Vogue, I've been on podcasts, I've been in the Columbus Dispatch, I don't know how many times. I've been, featured on the news. I've so just the fact of I was telling my husband the other day how much money I made since I've been in business, and it's over six figures.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like I did that.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't me going in, clocking in to somebody else's job, but it's me putting in every effort, every bag that I've made, every stitch that I've sewn, every post that I created, every picture that I took. It took me putting the work in to make the over six figures. And it's like,
Well, you better take us to church now, Jovanna.
that says something to be like, every penny I've made, it's because of my efforts. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm the most proud of is the fact that the sky is the limit. There's nothing that I can't do that we can't do if we don't put our mind to it. You just gotta put your mind to it. If you made $5 today, you did that. You made that money because of the effort and the work that you put into it. And that's enough to be proud about. That's
Oh,
something.
you better preach.
Hey, I did that.
Jovanna, I'm so glad we were able to connect, and thank you for coming on my rebirth of Side Hustle Saturday Hustle Talks. But I want you to tell the listeners how they can connect with you.
Yes, so they can. I should have put it up here on the screen,
We're
but
gonna put it up there. Well, it'll be up there. It'll be in the. It'll be everywhere that I
yes,
post this.
but yes, you can find me. My website is tonybekka.com, and that's TONEBEKKA. On Instagram, it's just at Tony Bekka. Facebook at Tony Bekka. Trying to think what else. Those are the main places. I'm mainly on Instagram at Tony Bekka, and then of course the website is tonybekka.com.
And y'all buy a bag, you
Yeah.
will not regret it. And a
Okay.
bag, ladies, y'all know a bag is an investment. This
Okay.
isn't a bag that is just going to be like, you're going to have it for a year. This is something that will last you for it's a legacy bag. And I'm not saying that lightly. These are legacy bags. So let us support this sister. Let us buy a bag. And I'm putting myself in there to let us go buy a bag. Go to her website today and support her.
Yeah.
Jovanna, thank you again for being on Hustle Talks. And y'all, Hustle Talks community, Side Hustle Saturday listeners, you guys know the drill. What do y'all need to do? You need to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You need to go to my website, sidehustlesaturday.co. You need to follow me on Instagram at side hustle underscore Saturday. You need to follow me on TikTok at side hustle underscore Saturday. And you need to follow me on Facebook at side hustle main hustle. Everybody, y'all know the drill. Follow me, follow Jovanna at Tone Bekka, and I will talk to you soon.